This whole forest used to look like this. Cows are cute and everything, but I would way rather nature journal on this side of the fence. And on a planetary level, we could use a lot less spaces like that and a lot more spaces like this. I'm just gonna start off with some almost blind contour drawings here, just to get warmed up a little bit. Ooh, that foreshortening is tricky. What a cool, amazing plant. I can feel the mosquitoes biting me. So quick unguided contour or blind contour type drawings are really good in the tropics when you need to work quickly. All right, let's see what else we can find. Look at this lovely bridge. It even has a non-slip surface. The trails are really nice and well maintained, and there's even signs on a lot of the trees. It's really easy to explore the trails here without concern about losing your way because the property's not that big and there's a well-maintained fence line around the whole perimeter. Worst case scenario, you find the fence line and follow it back to the hotel. Here's a cool patch with another type of Heliconia. So let me get a comparison of this one next to our first species. You can see I used a little bit of this tracing paper when I closed my book because my watercolor was still a little bit wet. That's one thing that you can do in the tropics, or use some type of blotting paper would be even better. It actually left a kind of cool texture on that Heliconia leaf, so check that out. That is one downside. I am a mosquito magnet, but there are biting insects sometimes in the tropics. It's part of the fun. And this location has more mosquitoes. Up by the hotel, there's a lot less mosquitoes. So those are a couple of the things that I noticed that are different. This one looks like it has little fruit. So maybe I'll do a zoom in on some of the fruit. One looks like it's been eaten somewhat. Oh, and they're triangular. That's an important thing to notice. That is another hint that this is a monocot. The leaves are a good suggestion as well. Okay, let's keep going. Let's draw some orchids. These are epiphytic. They don't have flowers on them right now. There's also some kind of anthurium here. Look at these pseudo bulbs. I think those are called pseudo bulbs. Oh, there's little baby. Oh my God, it's falling off the tree. Little baby orchid. Look how tiny that orchid is. I wonder what those dots are. I'm gonna start once again just with basically almost a blind contour drawing here. Oh, actually, I'm gonna start with more of like a diagram and showing the fence line here. Oh wow, there's a couple like baby ones. This is really cool. I wonder what the seeds are like. Okay, that got a little bit of the context there. Some of the bulbs don't have any leaves coming out of them. I wonder what time of year they flower. So I'm hearing a bird sound, but I'm gonna pretend like I'm not distracted for the video. Almost every time I go on a walk here, I run into a mixed flock, which is one of those awesome neotropical birding experiences. It happens in temperate climates as well, but the neotropics are famous for it, and it means there's a whole group of different species traveling and feeding together. Wow, that leaf curls back upwards. That's kind of weird. These leaves are almost grass-like or strap-like. Strap-like would be I forget how you say strap-like in Latin, but there's definitely a word for it. I see some dry flower stalks, I think. And now I'm just gonna make a box around this whole thing. I don't want that to run into that leaf there. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now I'm gonna draw the little micro one and measure it. But first let me get a measurement on this big one. You see the big one that I'm looking at? We're looking at different ones here, guys. Y'all. We're looking at different ones, y'all. Let me see if I can tilt you up here to check out what I'm checking out. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I wonder if anybody lives in that hole behind me. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. So, biggest part of this that I can measure is basically 30 centimeters long. So what I'll do is show this bar going like that and then coming out this way, and then say 30 centimeters. Mosquito biting me on the eyelid. Okay, now let's draw this micro one and measure the micro one. You can't see the micro one yet. It's like less than a centimeter. Well, maybe it's a centimeter. Yeah, it's in the longest measurement, it's like 1.5 centimeters. It's like a perfect miniature of the big one though. It's got the little bulbs. Supposedly, those are for storing energy. I haven't personally observed or tested that, so that's a different type of knowledge than something that you personally observe. It makes sense. Just because something makes sense doesn't mean it's true. It's a good story. There is a dry season here, so being able to store through the dry season would make sense. All right, I'm gonna add some color to this. Someone told me that chewing gum makes the mosquitoes not bite you, so I'm gonna do something risky here, probably a bad idea. But I've been experimenting with this watercolor technique for a while. And it's really fun in the tropics. It never dries, but so I used my newer water brush. This one has faster flow. That might have been my first mistake. I always have two of the same type. One is older. You can see this one's older, but I also mark it to be sure. It has this sort of bacterial film that starts to grow in it, and it flows more slowly. If you've been following me for a while, you already know that trick. And you probably also already know the trick that if you spit in it when you first get it, it will help the bacterial slime develop sooner, because uneven flow or fast flow is probably the main downside of these water brushes. Okay, now I'm using the slow flow one. Oh, what was that? There's a big bird here. Big bird. Oh, snap. What is that? Oh, it's an ant shrike. Come on, where'd you go? Lost it. Okay, I think there's probably a mixed flock coming. Okay, it moved before I got my binoculars on it, but it looked like a black-hooded ant shrike. Oh, and that one's singing. I should know what that one is. That could be one of the North American migrants. Oh, here we go, here we go. It is a black-hooded ant shrike. Okay, I'm gonna at least get a quick sketch of that just to help with my rainforest ADD. Getting it on the page helps you get over it. And also just have a record of that. Keeping it small is really helpful. Gotta try to get these streaks, white streaks on a black background. Not easy. Think in silhouettes. Develop your visual vocabulary for some of the more common species in the areas where you're nature journaling. And boom. Oh, let me put the vine. That leg looks terrible, but okay, got the ant shrike. Thank you, ant shrike. That even gave my watercolor some time to dry. Okay, now I'm gonna come in and get this more close-up one. That's too saturated. Oh, I made way too big of a wash. It's too saturated. Let me, get some of this mess from the corners. Maybe that'll help. Still a little bit too crazy. The watercolors definitely can absorb more humidity from the air, and I recently heard a very poignant quote about watercolors from, I think it was from Claire Giordano. She does some really cool watercolor classes, a lot of alpine and glacier Arctic stuff. And she said, oops, that was supposed to be the background and not the leaf, but I accidentally colored it green. She said that of all artistic media, watercolor is the most sensitive to the environment. It records, every time you make a watercolor painting, you're also recording information about the environment because of the way the watercolor behaves in that environment. So in more humid conditions, these colors in here can start to get a lot softer. They will behave differently on your page as well. And there are some tricks and tips for working with watercolor in high humidity. I'm not going to get into all of those right now, but one would be don't overfill your palette and be more judicious when you put your brush into those areas, because if it's softer in there, it will pick up more pigment when you dip your brush into there. And that's what happened to me. I ended up with too much of that phthalo yellow green because it was really soft. There's a prothonotary warbler. And I also think there's some type of pigeon or dove calling. Let's go look at birds. So remember what I said about the mixed flocks? Well, it looks like one came to me. So I am going to try to sketch some of them, nature journal some of them. And what I recommend for neotropical birding and nature journaling is using an app like Merlin is helpful. Getting sketches, little sketches, is really fun. Small binoculars. Oh, I see the cocoa wood creeper. At least one. Yeah, it's definitely a mixed flock. I've already seen the prothonotary warblers. Really cute, yellow head. I've seen either a flycatcher or maybe the flatbill. And those ant shrikes. Oh, that sounded like the ant shrike just now. Oh, I just saw a flycatcher dive for some food. So I don't have a crazy scope or fancy camera or anything like that. So what I'm gonna do is just use these small binoculars. They're perfectly good for birding. And I'm gonna use those and my nature journal to make this a more rich experience. I hear some type of raptor also. Vireo. All right, so I got a couple quick sketches. I also wrote down some notes about the birds I'm hearing. I just heard that pigeon again. So writing down some notes there. And, even if this is all you get when a mixed flock is happening, this is better than nothing. Plus, combined with some of the plants we did earlier, this is a perfect nature journaling experience. This is pretty classic rainforest or, humid tropics nature journaling. It's not easy, but it's also very, very rewarding. And here at Heliconia is a great place to do it. And if you'd rather work from birds close up, the good thing is that Luce and Case, the owners of Heliconia, also are biologists, and they do a lot of bird rehabilitation. So right now, for example, there is a channel-billed toucan, there's some orange-fronted parakeets, also a brown, I think it's called brown-fronted parakeet. There's some vultures, black vultures nesting under their porch, and a couple yellow-headed caracaras that visit on the daily. So if I can't get close enough to the birds out here for a really detailed drawing, then back at the hotel, there's all of those birds waiting for me.